Hey everyone, this is Steve Good with DreamsQuest, back for a update on our project. But today we are joined by two very special guests, two of our elusive writers, not so elusive today, in fact, Michael Weiss and Richard Potter. Welcome to our show tonight. It's great to have you both.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So before we jump into some of the questions we've got from our community, what I thought we should do is just give you guys a moment to each introduce yourselves. So I'll let you guys fight as you would do proper game style over who gets to speak first.
Michael?
Richard, being a relative and descendant of Harry Potter, needs to go first alphabetically.
All right, Richard, you're up.
Well, my name is Richard Potter. I am a writer and a producer. The thing I'm most normally associated with is the Scream franchise. But as everyone else who's involved in genre films will probably tell you, I'm also a huge fan of gaming. And that brings me to here. Michael?
I am Michael Weiss. I am a writer who's a former film executive. That's where Richard and I first met. I've learned a lot of different things being on, as they say in the business, both sides of the table, being an executive, being a creative writer. I'm most known for Journey to the Center of the Earth, and we're working with some of the other creators of that film here. But I've written, again, a lot of genre movies. If you look me up online, you'll see from Death Train to I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer, a whole host of produced genre movies. So for both of us, that's really a passion of these genres, meaning fantasy, some horror, things that have a twist to it.
And Richard, I think there's a film you've worked on that people probably have heard of. Maybe you want to just give a couple of quick summaries of films you've worked on or other productions?
Well, the biggest one, like I always say, is the Scream franchise. I was the one who found that script and put that franchise together, and had the fun of trying to convince Wes Craven to direct it after he passed on it the first 2 times. That's true.
Wow.
The Prophecy movies with Christopher Walken, which is a huge, obviously, fantasy element dealing with angels and biblical concepts in a thriller sort of way. It came out, I think in September or the end of August, worked on an animated version of Night of the Living Dead called Night of the Animated Dead, which has been a lot of fun, especially for younger audiences who won't sit through a slow-moving black and white movie from the 60s. I had a great time showing the animated version to my nephew, who lost his mind. He was scared, he had a great time, and all he could talk about for a week afterwards was, I can't believe that ending. So it's been a lot of fun. As Michael said, we both love genre stuff. Michael and I met at Dimension Films a long, long time ago because we love this. We love this. We love the genre, sci-fi, horror, thrillers, and all of that is in this game.
I can't watch horror films, but that's a separate matter. But let me just ask you guys both a question. So from the first question from our community, talking about the films you've been producing and the creations you've made over the years, and notwithstanding what you're doing with us at DreamsQuest, what would you say is your favorite creation that you've worked on and why?
Wow.
And you can go first, Richard, since you've already got the floor.
That's wow. It's like, every single thing you work on brings something to you that surprises you. Like I said, I always go back to the Scream movies because the horror genre was kind of dying at the time, and there were no movies being made for teenagers. And Michael will tell you the thing that I originally responded to in the script wasn't the horror aspect of it. It was that it was a movie for teenagers at a time where nobody was doing that. And seeing that the Scream movies are still going, that there was just one out a month ago, and another one is coming out. They just announced, I think, March of next year. To know that a script that landed on my desk that I read and talked our bosses, Michael and mine, our bosses at the time, into buying is, 25 years later, is still a juggernaut. It's still one of the highest rated, most popular film franchises. Is astounding to me. And by the way, working on those movies, I always say was like being in summer camp. I can't believe how much fun it was, and we were getting paid to do that, and then it turned into a real movie.
I guess I know what I'm going to be watching very soon. I love horror movies, unlike Steve.
The first two are the best two, but that's just my opinion.
All right, so Michael, let's pop over to you,
Okay.
and you can answer the same question in terms of what your favorite creation was, or has been, or is, or what have you. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, when you say my favorite, like, you know, I worked on Journey to the Center of the Earth. I was one of a few different writers. It was one of these big sort of Hollywood creative processes where different writers came in. But I was the one who worked with the director. That was the first one. It was said, okay, let's make it into a 3D movie. And it was really one of the first. It was actually, as I was told, the first feature film to be shot like a feature-length movie in 3D, not done in After Effects. And so, you know, that was incredible for me to work on it. I got to take my kids to go see it. You know, we took like 30 people to the movie theater. So that was awesome. As Richard knows, there's also lots of things you work on that don't get made. So I've had an interesting career. I've had some big, many small movies get made. But in Hollywood, there's a long tail of projects that you sell, you make a living on it, but nothing happens with it. So I wrote with a friend of mine, and it's a long story of how we came up with it, but we wrote a script called Zombies versus Gladiators. We sold it to Amazon Studios when they were just starting out to produce things. It was like the beginning of Amazon as anything. It's Zombies versus Gladiators, okay? And you can imagine what it was. It's in the Roman Colosseum, literally out of a cage is like a diseased guy that they had captured, and it's a zombie, and he bites the emperor, and all hell breaks loose in Rome. And there's a gladiator who has to protect some people, get a Roman senator from one side of town to the other. And it had this whole life on Amazon where we posted the script, and it created all this like fan fiction. People did table reads, they did little trailers of it. We ran a rewrite contest where we got about 60 submissions from people who rewrote our script, and then we got to judge and pick which rewrite we thought was best of our own script. And then they brought us back in. We developed it as a TV series. We wrote a pilot script of it. And let's just say that the people involved at Amazon were replaced and it all died. But if you Google around online of Amazon Zombies versus Gladiators, there's little bits and pieces of it. And it was fun for me, like we're doing now. It was actually got to interact with sort of fans, a fan base. And it was really fun. So that was probably my favorite of things that didn't get made.
Well, who knows if Netflix actually gets a win of this after this, who knows, right, Michael? So yeah, that's a good one, man.
It's available.
I think
I own the rights again.
We all have stacks of stuff that we wrote and sold and never got made. And like Michael, like I won't get too deep into it.
For sure.
I got a bunch of things that I've written with a partner and on my own that are sitting at studios that are some of the favorite things I've ever been involved with, especially getting to write them and create them myself. And then the most, as Michael was just saying, the person who bought it from you, the regime that's running the studio at the time, is replaced. And the new regime never, for some reason, wants to work on the stuff that was bought by the previous regime.
Mm-hmm.
So my running joke is I've had an amazing career selling things to major studios that no one will ever see.
It's a good one.
As long as that's not like your whole track record, you're doing okay.
Well, Michael knows, and you guys know, and some of the people watching this may know, one of the things I was known for is being an uncredited script doctor. There are movies you've seen that I can't tell you that I've written parts of, but I can't say that, which is one of the weird things in our industry. But, you know, respect the industry you're in. I don't
Richard,
say...
I tell you, I feel like this is correlating exactly with the fashion industry. How many clothes people buy, they never wear it, they keep them in the closet with a tag attached.
Yes.
For a special occasion. And here we go, script industry.
Yep.
It's the same.
It's just
So
sitting,
it's just
you're
sitting.
literally right. You're literally right, because Michael will tell you every studio before everything went digital had a script closet.
I
And
knew
every-
it. I
Yeah.
knew it. I knew it. I mean, I didn't know, but you see, I'm onto something.
Yep.
And trust me, the next question is not going to be, what was that one item of clothing you bought, never took the tag off and left it in your closet, okay? I'm going to skip that one. It was an obvious opportunity to take you guys down a road of memory lane or something, but we're not going to do that. I'm going to jump to another question, which is more around what we're doing at Dreams Quest. And I know that we've started off with, some concept ideas some time ago. Just looking back on what we've been doing over the last months, starting together, looking at our original ideas and kind of evolving it to where we are now. What would you guys say, and we'll start with Michael first. What would you say let's say your biggest challenge has been so far in terms of being in the writer's room in Dreams Quest?
Except for working with me.
Now,
Of course, working with Polly is, been the high point of my career, and who knew that it would take this long for me to find really the true path that I was meant to be on. I mean, look, that's been the fun part. I'm really a feature film writer. Here's how I'll explain the difference. For feature films, really to be good at your job, you're mostly home alone in front of your computer. I've worked on many projects where you'll have a big meeting and then it's see you in 10 weeks, go work on that script alone. This has been, in a sense, more like a television show, like if you were working on Game of Thrones and you're really world building, which they talk about in screenwriting, but screenwriting is a very linear process. So the fun part of this has been all the collaboration. The challenge is that we aren't writing a linear story. We're really building something that is expansive. I know you use the word immersive in some of the messaging about this game, and it's true. There are so many moving parts that we're building at once that must interconnect, but also have their own details. And it requires a team to all build that at once. And so, I think as we're seeing, it's like you make a change here, it changes things in all the other things we're working on. Okay, so it's a juggling act between all of us to just keep building in a three-dimensional way rather than just writing a singular story. So it's the challenge, but it's really been fun because we have a good team.
Yeah.
So.
And what about you, Richard? What would you say your biggest challenge has been?
I think all of the writers would agree probably that the biggest challenge is Michael Weiss's anger and rage issues. He's tough to deal with because anything will set him off. And no, the challenge really is when we're sharing ideas, once the ideas start to flow, it's slowing it down. So much starts to come. Everyone is bouncing ideas off of each other, and so much good stuff is coming out that you almost have to slow it down and say, okay, let's concentrate on this thing that we just started talking about. Because as Michael was just saying, there's so much that has to be integrated. If you make a decision about one thing that's happening in one of the realms, or one particular type of character, you have to trace through what that's going to mean in other realms or when that interacts with other characters. Everything affects everything else. If you want this to feel like a real world, and I think the downfall in some games and movies and TV shows too is they don't feel real because the implications of a decision aren't felt throughout the whole thing. We're being really careful and trying to stay on top of that so that amongst all of us, we recognize that a decision that one writer made changes something that I'm working on. So I have to get with them, clarify it, and then feel the ripples of that decision. It's a challenge, but that's also the fun of it.
Yeah, so actually the next question was, why is the lore for the game so important? I think you've pretty much already answered that. Is there anything else you want to add to that? Michael, maybe do you want to add something quickly on that point, or either of you want to say something further?
Well, can I just say something when you talk specifically about the lore?
Yeah.
The underlying lore is what gives the game a sense of reality, that this is taking place in a real world, that the world didn't start the moment my character entered it. I'm entering a world that already exists. And Michael can speak to this better than I can, but one of the things, and I'll leave this for him, one of the things that's really important in screenwriting is having it feel like your characters are in a world that existed before the projector came on in the theater.
It's funny, but we're both going to say, and Richard would know, and Michael would know, because we've known each other a long time. Steve, if you want to know something about fate, because I know you believe in it, in December, Richard and I had lunch, and we said, it's been a long time. We need to find something to work on together. And it fell on us, and it's fantastic.
We were already being targeted, just so you know. We were already talking about you in December, so your ears were just burning. So I'm sorry.
Well, here's one better than that. At our lunch, we asked about someone we used to work with, and both of us were like, haven't heard from him in a while. And that's the person that brought us both in.
Yeah.
We summoned him.
Did you want to? Well, I'm not going to say, because that would be an alpha.
Well, hang on.
You just tempted me to talk about the game, but I'm not going to go there. You almost got me to say something. I'll leave it to you guys to say.
So here's what to bring a movie reference into what Richard's talking about. When you develop movie scripts and TV a lot too, so the studio, whoever you're working on with, will always say, why now? Why are we watching this character right now? Why are we entering his or her life at this moment? What's going on? And so I think for us in this story, what's interesting is there's a mythology and a history to what we've built into the game. You, the player, are entering it at a specific moment. Like, these things had to happen. If you had entered it earlier, it wouldn't be the right time. Now is the time for you to enter it, to discover the issues, the troubles, the drama that's going on. And now is your time to put it together, to use your skills, your knowledge, etc., to go on a quest and, without revealing too much, solve this puzzle. And that, I think, is, when we're talking about lore and history and mythology, that's the why now. You're coming in at the time where it's led to, we need a hero. We need someone to come in and take charge here and have an adventure and have fun, but the world needs you now.
Yeah, we all need a
Thank
hero.
you for asking, Greg.
Yeah, Leslie,
Thank you for asking.
A question from community. Go ahead, Leslie. And it's kind of related to what you were just talking about, actually.
Yeah, so one of the questions we have had as well is, what's the difference between working on, a game lore versus working on a script, a film script that you guys are working on? So maybe, Richard, you want to go first?
Actually, when you're working on a film script, a lot of what would be the lore is backstory that you're building in, and then certain elements come into play as the character moves through the movie in the prescribed way. When you're doing it for a game, you're creating a larger backstory to fill in an entire backworld. And in an open world game, I don't know where the character is going to go. The player's going to make that decision. So the lore and the mythology has to support whatever choices the character makes, so that their story is unfolding. It's not my story that I wrote, it's their story that's unfolding.
How about you, Michael?
Yeah, it's funny that I hadn't even thought about that, but Richard's right. It's like, and it's interesting during this experience for us to sort of delineate between what we're writing as story and lore, and then always being cognizant of the fact that the player, they may not go in the direction you think. They may not choose to walk in a certain direction and find a certain thing. So you do have to be prepared to, again, an open world, characters are going to wonder, do we want to point them to something that we know is important? Or do we need everything to have built into it? Like, we'll make sure you're going to find things out at a certain point. But yeah, that's the difference. In a movie, you're presenting your vision and it's locked. That's what it is. It's the story. And this, we're creating a palette for these players to explore, but we have to make sure the important dramatic items that we have, they're going to find it. It'll be part of it.
Now you're getting us excited, talking about items and mythology. Our community members have been up in arms for the longest time. So I'm going to seek permission from Pauli. Pauli, you want to ask the questions in terms of what can be revealed at this point of time to, what the next question goes to you, Pauli.
What can be revealed? I don't know. Maybe I think there's one question that will be actually really fitting from the community. I think we had one here. Oh, yeah. So community, we're asking for some sneak peeks of what you're working on specifically. So fine, I allow it. Let's do it.
We'll start with less. No, just kidding.
Well, we're gonna talk about a little bit about a specific realm for this matter, right? So
let's Richard and Michael talk.
Yeah.
Because let them give some sneak peeks rather than us, because normally we drop in some alpha bombs.
Sure.
But let the guys share a little bit more, because I'm sure they're very proud.
Richard, you go
one
first.
One thing I was going to say, let's not choose the realm for them. Let's let them choose the realm they want to talk about. And have at it, guys. We're giving you some carte blanche here to have some fun.
I like talking about the ice realm. Michael and I have been having a lot of fun with the ice realm.
I won.
I'll tell you this, and this is what I say to any fans watching. When you hear ice realm, if you have assumptions about what that is or what the ice realm is going to be like, this is not an ice realm environment like you've been in before. It will have things that you expect. I mean, it is snowing and there's ice and it's cold, but you're going to see things that you've never seen before and characters that you've never encountered before. If I can talk about this, I know Michael and I had talked.
We made sure that the characters would be different. So,
but I know that you guys have the button that can shut me down. So feel free to do that if I say something I shouldn't say. But I want to talk. One of my favorite things in this is the ice dragons. I'm not going to talk about, for the most part, what the ice dragons do. I want to talk about one of the ways that a player can uniquely interact with one that I don't think has ever been done before. The dragons as living beings do all kinds of amazing things, but let's put them as living beings aside for a moment. Let's say a character comes across the bones of a deceased ice dragon. If the character has, cut me off if I can't say this, if the character has a specific type of summoning crystal, they can resurrect the ice dragon as a kind of ice phoenix, where they will see the bones of the ice dragon melt and collapse in on itself, a burst of frozen fire, and then a smaller version of the dragon, because it's young, it's just resurrected, that could potentially be their ally or even accompany with them on some quests. But the ice dragon, ice phoenix thing, when we've all been discussing it as a group, has been something that we thought was so unique, so interesting, and so much possibility for gameplay, that I think has been one of the coolest things that we've come up with. And you'll only find an ice dragon in the ice realm.
So basically it would be like your pet. So you could have like an ice dragon phoenix resurrected pet, but you have to have the summoning crystal.
But keep in mind, as it grows, it's going to become a little bit more than a pet. Think about what it could do for you if you take care of it, and it keeps.
You're talking about
bigger.
litter?
Sorry?
Because when you go out with your pet, you have to collect the litter right afterwards. So you be careful when you go for long walks.
Yes.
Take a bag.
The official
take
Dreams
a truck.
Quest, the official Dreams Quest dragon waste bags will be available coming soon.
I think we're also dropping the Poopa scoops, right? Like the dragon ones.
Do you really want to say droppings?
Yes, I just did. I just dropped it.
Okay.
We're like alpha droppings, but in this case they were dragon droppings. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah,
he's something to get us out of this mess.
let me tangent us away from this.
Yes, cleanse our palate, Michael.
I'll bring up something that I think also is important in our discussion. Just today, we were having a brainstorming session. We're talking about tone. We're actually also looking at what will become the website for this. We're talking about tone. And I think it's important to discuss that, you know, the great games that are out there, a lot of them are based on you're sort of living and dying by the sword, right? I mean, that's the way you make progress. That's the way you achieve your goals, your quests. And, you know, part of it, as we've built this realm, part of its lore, again, without divulging too much, is that there was sort of discord in the beginnings of this realm. A character rose up to form a sort of peace, and that peace in a certain way exists now. And what you'll find in this realm are certain characters who might look threatening, who you might assume would be an enemy, but because of the way this realm is put together and because of the trust that some of these different groups have, these can be allies. And I think it speaks to kind of the larger idea of this game, that you're going to have to, forgetting your fighting skills, your adventuring skills, there's also going to be like your negotiating skills, your navigating skills, your sophistication skills of figuring out how do I interact with this place and these characters to get what I want that might be a different form of communication than I'm used to in a game. And as just this one realm, this ice realm has evolved, and we've created a lore for it, and characters who came before you, you're now stepping into a world where it's at a certain level. There's a certain sophistication. It's not as primitive as you might think. And I think for us, that's going to lead us to gameplay that's, again, you're going to be asked to step into this in a way that's not just using a weapon, taking people out, taking characters out. A character that you might see a dragon that you think this is coming to get me, it's over, not necessarily. And so if you think of different ways to interact and you play this game in a way that maybe you haven't been used to playing other games, you're going to have success and you're going to be rewarded in ways that you didn't expect.
Love that. So I guess one of the other questions we had from our audience was kind of related to what you've been talking about. What would you say some of the biggest challenges you've been facing have been in creating this entirely new world? Maybe we'll kind of wrap up around this question, because I think it's good for people to understand how hard it is to create something out of nothing.
Again, the biggest challenge is Michael's temper.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that. He's a
Here
tough
comes the
nut.
pen. Here it comes.
Yeah. I know that's been a big concern with you, Steve, also in our side conversations, like how are we going to handle this guy?
Honestly,
for me,
I'm so glad we can say this in public finally. It's just getting it out there. Everyone knows Michael's a tough guy to work with, you know, and going to the center of the earth and all that. Now we have to, like, you know, bring him back to reality. He's still trying to like adjust. I know it's tough.
Yes.
But the peaceful veneer, it doesn't work.
No.
And admitting it is the first step, Michael.
Yeah.
For me, I think one of the biggest challenges is building a unified, believable world. I think we come up with cool stuff all the time. Even just the group that's here right now, conversations we come up with really cool, interesting ideas and moments and interactions that will take place within the game. But you still need to believe as a player when you enter the game that the world you're in is a real place. So part of what happens when we're defining the lore is there's lore in terms of mythology and there's lore in terms of history, just like we have in the real world. And there's what we are calling lore, which is actually what would be, I guess, Michael, correct me if I'm wrong here, what we would kind of call current events in the game, things that have happened at the time you're arriving. There's a particular quest I'm thinking of right now that I don't want to get into, where you're asked to help someone because they realize that someone else may be cheating within the game. So you want to help them to put things on the right path. So there are actually, when you arrive in this world, when you arrive in a particular realm, life in that realm isn't starting when you got there. Events are happening. That realm is a evolving, living place that you're walking into. And when you leave that realm and come back later, things may have changed because while you were off in this other realm having an adventure, time was also passing here. And I think one of the challenges we have is understanding and creating a believable world that exists at all times in all the realms consistently, so that you feel like you're in a living, breathing place. You're not just a figure on your screen, you know, moving around from goal to goal.
And that, that goes to the title as well of this. I mean, this game's called Dreams Quest. And I think for us, what's been interesting and we're challenging ourselves is that, you know, and from, you know, Steve, Leslie, and Paulie have really been the drivers on this, that there's a spirituality in this game. We're channeling from you as we build this. There has to be mysteries to this. There, you know, it's not, we're trying to make this not just a typical adventure. There have to be things in it that are confusing. Why is this happening? What does this do? Where am I? If I go here, what's going to happen to me? So that, you know, it feels like there's a dreamy quality to it. Like, I'm not sure what's really happening. I'm not sure what the possibilities are. And that's got to be the fun of this. And so for us, it's how do we take things to another level and make sure it doesn't seem so physical? You know, things don't have to be locked into our normal sense of reality. So how do we create that? I mean, if you want to use the word magic, you can use magic. For us, it just has to be wonder and surprise, confusion. And so for us, that's been, how do we make sure we're putting that into everything we do?
Love it. Well, guys, look, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's obviously working with you guys, and I'll say it's mutual. You inspire us too. It's amazing working with you guys, and we're excited about what we're doing. We've got a long quest ahead of ourselves to continue going here and getting all of the rest of the realms defined. We've got the core of it defined, which is amazing. So game development is on its way, which is super cool. And I know people keep asking, and I know this isn't something for you guys to talk about, and we just have to patiently wait for the rest of the, you know, the organization to get together and get these things out there. And we're going to keep showing more stuff, but we really appreciate you guys coming and joining us. And thank you very much for joining us on our interview today. And obviously we'll be following up on future things with you guys. Thank you both, Michael and Richard, on behalf of Leslie and Paulie and me, from all of us here at Dreams Quest.
Richard, I'll call you. Richard, I'll call you in 5 minutes so we can keep working.
Don't, please don't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Thank you, everybody, for checking in with us at Dreams Quest. Catch you all soon.